just are live. It's like boom.
Okay, we're live. Yes, we're live. Mitchell, do you see Mitchell's on the phone? We're here with Douglas. They're usually on
Yeah,
Roundtable nights. There's going to be more than just us three. There's going to be like 5 people, maybe 4 people. But
Mitchell's on the phone trying to get some breaking news from one of his contacts in the
well,
system.
at least
So,
he's
so
muted.
he's working hard,
Okay,
trying to
good.
break something for Lenny Melnick Sports.
I tried to fix the chat room. I first of all had 2 chat rooms, so I tried to take it down to just 1 chat room. When I did do that, then we couldn't type in there. So then I had to go in there and figure out that. But that's why we're late. No big deal. No excuses here. Just glad that you guys could make it. Bobby Kleinow will be here probably next Monday. He's a little under the weather today. And Daniel got called into work, or somebody called off of work. You know how it goes. And we're here, the 3 of us. You guys join in the chat room, and we'll talk. We'll talk baseball for sure. Let's just get started. Douglas and Mitchell. Is Mitchell still on the phone? I can't.
Now
I'm off the phone now.
Hi, Mitchell. Did you find anything good?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, sure.
Okay. Are you ready to get started?
I'm ready to roll.
The first thing I want, let's talk spring training, okay? Players that we're watching this spring, what we've seen that we are interested in for fantasy purposes, like there's players that obviously we all want to check out this spring. Douglas, do you have any right off the bat that you're looking at? And
you wrote about there being possible player battles, but it's really not that for me. Really, it's like the big thing is there were a lot of guys last year who were rookies or very close to rookies who added some stuff or to their teams this year. And with the rosters getting smaller, I'm wondering about things like, would Christian Pash win the center field job in Atlanta? Is Andrew Vaughn going to be the DH in Chicago, on the south side of Chicago? Those kind of things. Jazz Chisholm's, you have a place in the everyday lineup for the Miami Marlins. Like, those are the guys that I'm looking at. You can't really find out anything in one game, but hopefully over the course of, I guess they're only playing 10 or 12, right?
Dude, they have to get together every game. They have to get together, and the managers have to say, okay, we're going to play 7 innings or however many innings. And I'm sorry, that just, to me, it doesn't hurt me because I'm not the one that has to do it. But don't you think that would be just a pain in the ass? And then on my next question, so answer both of these at the same time. That's kind of annoying having to do all that work just to decide how many innings that you're going to play. No athlete, in my opinion, wants to stop playing. They're not going to, and they get to choose how many innings they want to do. So if they,
I live in Florida, and we used to have, it doesn't exist anymore, the Florida State Instructional League. And in that league, they never charged you to go watch a game. It was free, but They would stop the game at strange times. Like, the game would just end all of a sudden, because it's an instructional league. They really don't care about the outcome. You know what I'm saying? So it's reminiscent of that. Like, they would sit there and say, we're only going to play 3 innings today. Or the weirdest thing would be, like, in the middle of the 4th inning, the pitching coach would walk out to the pitching mound, and they would have the pitcher throw like 40 pitches to the catcher with no batter up there. Well, so it's like, I think they're treating the spring training more like an instructional league, and I think that might not be the worst thing in the world. Because
why? What are they trying to accomplish by this?
Well, the idea isn't so much to show a game that you can pay money to get to sell tickets, but it's to actually get these guys prepared for the season.
Okay.
And I think last year they were underprepared.
That's probably true, but I just don't understand. Okay. Making this stipulation that the manager can decide if, let's say there's 2 outs in the inning, he can say, okay, we're done batting now, we're going to go in. Like, what athlete would ever be okay with that, dude? Would you be okay if your manager was like, no, never mind, you don't get to bat, or you don't get to try to score a run? It just, even if it's spring, I don't know what they're accomplishing. Are they trying to be together less? Are they trying to take longer to stretch out, or what's the point?
I think, Andrea, it's about protecting the property, protecting the assets. I think it's all, like today, I'm watching a game this afternoon. I did not realize that after 20 pitches, they can call the inning off. And I say it's ignorant. But as Doug says, it's not about winning the game. It's about preparing for a 162 game season, which they were not able to do last year. And we know we got Yelich hitting under the Mendoza line. We know how costly that was. So I want all my guys to get a good spring training and be ready for April 1st. That's what I want.
So, but in the last 100 years of baseball, it's never, now all of a sudden we need less.
Because you didn't have a season last year.
So
tell me the last time other than a strike year, which we had, other than the strike year, tell me one time when we had such a long period of time without the players being able to get in proper playing condition and readiness. So I'm all in on this. If my guys come out here and you ask, who are you watching? I'm watching Moncada because I'm struggling with keeping him. I have him at $17 in a keeper league, and I can keep him or Iglesias. I know Lenny would say never keep a closer. There are about 6 closers this year that have job security. Doug, you agree? It's about
I actually, I'm in the middle of a draft, and I'm thinking about drafting 3 closers early. I'm
saving 2. I'm protecting 2 closers
because there are so many closers things that are up in the air that if you're in a 15-team league and you can have 3 closers, that can give you a significant advantage in the save category, and it'll help you in ERA and WHIP enough that you might be able to make up for the fact that you're a little behind in strikeouts. Right. I think that I wouldn't want to go into a draft this year without having 1 closer that I was confident in. I could live with just 1, but I want.
That's right. That's right.
What would Yoan Moncada have to do for you to decide to not?
He stole a base today.
That's good. The thing about Yoan Moncada to me is that he was one of the guys. Everybody who had a bad year last year, well, not everybody. Many of the people who had a bad year last year expressed the reason why they had a bad year.
He had COVID.
Moncada said that he struggled with COVID and he never fully recovered.
Right.
Because that's physical. You're wondering if the physical problems linger to 2021.
They can.
I can understand that. Yeah, it can. They very well can.
That's right.
And so, that would be a different situation than what I'm looking at in Corey Kluber getting out there or David Price getting out there.
There are a group of COVID patients called long-term. They don't understand why, but it sucks. There are some people who get COVID who are never right again. This is horrible. I don't mean to distract, Andrea. I'm just saying.
No, that's not a distraction.
That's right. Is Moncada one of the long-term
long haulers? They call them
long haulers, right? And that's what worries me.
Yeah, it's like a physical problem. You want to know that they're over with. It was Tommy John surgery. We would want to see that there were no lingering effects of Tommy John surgery.
For sure.
Same thing is true, except it's COVID. That's all.
So, but
which makes him a little more worrisome than many other people out there that have bad years.
That's right.
Were you looking for Moncada? Is that like maybe the COVID affected him not trying to steal any bases last year because
he was gassed, Andrea. He'll tell you that. He's very honest about it.
Okay.
The kid is very honest about it.
That's fine. I'm willing to give anybody a break. I am not a huge fan of Moncada to begin with, but I understand that, and that's what you're looking at this spring. That makes total sense. There's some other players that did get COVID that I would be interested in watching, like Eduardo Rodriguez.
Exactly. Right.
And it's come up a couple times, the COVID, the lingering effects of the COVID. Lenny and I have talked about it a couple times, and you read that in newspapers when they're talking about players, they say that so-and-so, got COVID. As far as, are you trying to decide whether you should keep one or both of those? Or
I'm keeping Chapman and Iglesias. I've never kept 2 closers in my life. And because of what Doug said, there are about 6 to 8 closers. I'm in a 15-team league. It's a game changer if you don't have closers. And I spend all my fab money every year chasing, like Anthony Swarzak. I played $26 for Anthony Swarzak last year in a fab bid.
Oh my goodness!
Yeah.
What?
We've all been there, not on Swarzak, but on somebody.
No, I've never. Okay, maybe
we spent a lot of fab on somebody we thought was going to be good, and it wasn't.
Exactly. I'm tired of spending my fab money on would-be closers.
Yeah, and that's actually part of my thought process when I'm thinking of, like, when I'm thinking this through about grabbing 3 closers, it's like it's not good enough just to be competitive at this. If I'm going to commit to closers, I need to be better than average at it. Right. It would be a help if you're in a trading league. So you get a 3 spot, but that's one of the benefits is that I'll have a lot more fab money for other players when they come around.
Exactly.
Okay. Do any of you play in points leagues? Do either of you play points leagues? Okay. This is probably going to sound stupid, but I'm willing to look stupid and throw it out there because I really.
My long-term dynasty league is a points league.
I'm playing. Right now I'm drafting in a best ball cut line championship at NFBC. I love the fact that you just draft your team. It's 42 rounds. There's no trades. You don't even have to make moves on your roster. So every week they just give you the most points that you can accumulate with the players that you have. I was looking at the scoring rules today, and is it normal? Is this normal that in points leagues they subtract a point every time you get an at bat?
And at bat,
what?
No, bat's not normal, but strikeouts are usually a subtraction. There's usually a number of subtractions for the pitcher.
So you get a strikeout, you get a point, and it says hits allowed -1, walks allowed -1, earned run -2 for a pitcher. But then on the other side for the hitters, it says you get 6 points for a home run. And I went and looked like in the forums. I went and looked at the NFBC forums to find out about the scoring, but like nobody mentions it. So I'm wondering if it's just like
the scoring in points leagues is pretty screwed up as a whole. I mean, I think when it came about to try to attract like fantasy football players over to baseball. And so points leagues all functionally have like there's things you can exploit by the way the points are written out.
So but let me tell you what I found in the forum when I was looking.
Bats are -1 seems really odd. I played in a number of points leagues. I've never seen that.
Okay, so I'm not crazy, but so it's always good to look at that's got to be the most important thing. But this is not the first year that I've even played in this type of league, and I know I've looked at the settings before, but I never.
Bats be -1. I can't even fathom the thinking behind that.
It is. And then so I thought maybe that's just a misprint in the draft room. So I went to the actual league and looked at the league rules and it says that. And then I found out now, how do you look at a home run? So like in this league for points, you get 6 points for a home run. And you get 5 points for a stolen base, 4 for a hit, and on and on. Well, one guy asked in the forum to the NFBC, does a home run actually count as 13 points? Because you get 6 points for the home run. And then you get the run that you score. That's 2 points. And then you get, it turns out to be 13 points for a home run. Is this
right?
Solo or runners on base?
No, that's normal. It really is.
So you get 6 points for a home run. You get 4 points for a hit. And you get 2 points for a run.
Oh, okay. I see.
So that's 12 points.
Yeah. See, now is NFBC?
And then, no, Mitchell, I'm not done. And then you get 2 points on top of all that for running. It's an RBI. You batted yourself in, so you get an RBI for this. Is that right?
I mean, think about it, like the big thing that's come up in the last few years has been the emergence of DFS. And in DFS, if you hit a home run, you're going to get the RBI point, you're going to get the run point, you're going to get the home run point. That is normal in points leagues.
I think it is normal, but I never really thought about it that hard, because like if you steal a base, it's 5 points, okay? But you don't, with the home run, you tack on the fact that you got a hit, you tack on the fact that you scored a run and that you drove yourself in. That's a RBI. I mean, like what? And then you -1 point for the at bat, and you get 13 points for a home run in this league, which really puts an emphasis on power, if you ask me. And then,
that is the thing about points league. Points leagues, the 2 things that you have to remember about points leagues are 1, pitchers are worth a lot more. 2, there's an emphasis on power, and 3, strikeouts hurt you. That's like that. Those are like the first things you tell somebody when they're starting a points league.
Well, the points don't, like, for striking out doesn't count against you in this league, but I agree that in most points leagues, or you should look at this because it makes a difference in who you draft. If you're in a league where they penalize you for strikeouts, you are not going to be drafting Joey Gallo or whatever,
I always think of, like, when I'm in a points league, it kind of reminds me of fantasy football, because like you'll have some places where they'll do like full point PPR, half point PPR. And in points, people will talk like that, like we're we're a -1 strikeout league, or we're a half-point strikeout league, or a quarter-point strikeout league. Most people see that as being because a baseball player who's pretty good can strike out 120 times a year, and that's a lot of points to be taken off, which really turns it really makes the Adam Frazier's and the Lewis Arias, the guys that make contact, worth a lot more than they are.
Well, so you get a negative point for getting an at bat. So basically, every time your player walks up to
what is this NFBC?
This is NFBC Best Ball Cut Line Championship. So
what's the entry fee? $12.50.
It's just $150. No, $150. But then it's actually like it's a group. This type of league. So you have a 10-team league. You play in a 10-team league. Everybody gets 42 players, and in that league there's one prize, and then also though you're playing against the whole group of people, all the leagues, the people in all the leagues, and there's a list of people that have a team, and it tells you how many teams each person has in this whole cut line championship thing. And there's some guys that have like 20 teams.
Yeah, 20. I don't think that's abnormal. I mean I think it's abnormal philosophically, but I think within the realm of fantasy sports, the fact that people play 20, 30 leagues is not that weird.
No, it's not that weird, but you're paying $150 a piece for each team. And I love the fact, I mean, gosh, the best part about fantasy is drafting. In my opinion, that's the best part about it. And after the season starts, I tend to get behind sometimes and leave certain leagues out if I'm not doing that well. Like I tend to focus really hard on certain leagues, and then other ones I'm not so good. So this like solves the problem of having to make moves.
I have a hard and fast. There was a time when I would play in 11 or 12 leagues, but I found that I never was happy with the season, because if I'm in 12 leagues, I have to place in at least 9 of 12 leagues for me to think the season was halfway decent, because I'm going to fixate on the 3 that I lost.
They're always at all these different websites too, trying to do your leagues. You have to go to Yahoo, then you have to go to Fantrax, and you have to go to RT Sport. Yeah,
that is the. I try to limit myself to 2.
So, Mitchell, how many leagues do you play in?
Up to about 4 or 5. I've got an invite to a Fantrax league. I've got 2 CBS. My brother and I are going to do an ESPN league, and I won't do more than a half a dozen, but I normally do quite a few.
I see your brother Merrill in the chat room. He's there. He's just not chatting. Hi, Merrill. Nice of you to come along and hang out.
We're twins.
Really?
Only leagues. You guys play in only leagues? Let's talk draft strategy.
No, I don't play in an only league, and you know what? I think I'm making a mistake, because it sounds like the ultimate challenge.
I think it's the exact opposite. It's the it's a league for if you want to put. I mean, the draft is everything. Put your brain on hold for the rest of the season, because basically in an only league, if an important player that you have gets hurt, you're done.
Yeah,
you're nobody else.
Yeah, right.
If you ask a person, like if you're going to do a show about only leagues, and somebody goes, "Do you think I should start this pitcher?" The answer is, "Is he starting this week?" Yeah. Well, then yes, you start him. Like there is no thought whatsoever to a league after the draft.
Doug, I paid $300 one year to play NFBC, and I got so frustrated.
What?
I mean,
no waiver moves, no fab.
Oh, so you love doing it?
No, nothing. If you have somebody go down with an injury, you're screwed.
Yeah.
Only leagues are for people who don't really want to play fantasy baseball, in my mind.
I kind of agree with you, Doug.
That's the thing. I was in before the dynasty league I ran, I was in a dynasty league which was NL only, and a weird circumstance happened where the league canceled because the guy that had keys to the kingdom had a heart attack and died, and no one knew how to get into the league.
Right.
And after having that go away, I'm like, wow, baseball is so much more fun if you don't have an only league.
Speaking of fun, Doug, I cannot tell you the adrenaline boost I'm getting by seeing a half a dozen people behind home plate yelling and drinking beer.
Speaking of people,
all of the energy from baseball with nobody in the stands. They can put all the cardboard cutouts they want. It was awful.
So, do you think the hatred for the Astros is going to be? Do you feel like the Astros got off scot-free for?
I'm over it. I'm over it.
I was over it last year.
Got off scot-free, Andrew, and I don't give a rip. I'm ready to move on.
Who got off scot-free? The Astros?
Players did, not the ownership, not the management. And you watch, Andrew.
The people that really, the ownership of the Astros got off scot-free, right. And they were the ones that literally told those guys, like when they hired him, it's like, is there anything that's off the table? And the owner said to the guy that they fired, and he said, no, do whatever it takes to win.
Exactly.
And that was nudge, wink, wink, like all these other things, and the Astros were cheating like everybody else was cheating, and the Astros were cheating in more ways than
a lot of people were cheating. It's not just them. Let me make a bold prediction. Watch Tigers under AJ Hinch.
Yeah.
That guy's a good manager. Say what you want. He's a good manager.
I'm not going to say anything about any of them because I think everybody's cheating. And if you give people an easy way to cheat, they're going to cheat. That's all there is to it. And that's life. So,
especially in baseball where there has never really been a rule against cheating.
What?
Nobody has ever.
Gaylord Perry cheated.
People have been stealing signs forever.
Everybody cheats in baseball.
The first people to ever be punished for stealing signs were the Houston Astros.
In the transcript of that guy in Seattle, that manager, I guess the head of the team that got fired recently for what he was saying on the call, or at the group, I don't know if it was a meeting, but either way, there's a lot of stuff in there to be learned. He said, actually, just came to my mind. He said that within 3 years, there's going to be an umpire. It's going to be an electronic strike zone. So within 3 years, there will still be an umpire behind home plate just in case they need to override something. But at that point, I mean, he said that's happening. We're very close to that happening. What do you guys think of an electronic strike zone? An electronic strike caller, Mitchell.
I mean he's on some. I mean, they have an electronic thing in tennis, and it works fine for that. And I actually don't have a problem with them doing everything again to get the call right faster. The one thing that has always going to be about I guess about 6 years ago now, the first electronic strike zones were tried out in a California league, and they left those boxes there. And the pitchers would go there afterwards and try to figure out how they can scam the computer, right? It's like you can throw a pitch in different spots than what we consider a strike and get it to call a strike because the strike zone legally is not a two-dimensional object. It's a three-dimensional object.
Right. That's key.
So you can come at it from the top. You can come at it from the side, either side. Theoretically, you can come at it from the bottom, but that would be very hard to do. There's no such thing really as a rise ball. And those guys were sitting there like, how can I like throw a pitch that's basically a ball the whole way, but it grazes a piece in the back. And the truth is, the pitchers over time will get good at that. It'll change the game in whatever they do. I'm fine with the idea of them getting it right, but we have to realize that whatever changes they make to the games will change the game. That's all. And make it different. It might put a priority on guys like, in the draft, the guys that have better control, like the Hwang-Yang Kims or the Brad Kellers or the Cal Hendricks.
Yeah, we wrote about it last year in the draft guide. We wrote about this because it would be a different way of trying. All it is trying to, be one step ahead of the rest of the people. So everybody's always going to try to find the best way to be better than the other guy, right? And so with all the analytics and stuff like that, you'll have guys that will be training themselves just to throw the pitch like right on the outside of the strike or like right inside the strike zone according to the computer. I don't know. I think you miss something when you start putting everything electronic. I think you start to I don't know, at what point do you say that it's just not the same anymore, like with the
the question is is human error part of the game?
Yes, human element is part of the game. It is.
They're all about
if you need it there, you need it there.
Okay. So there's a little bit of news that I heard, some tidbits. Xander Bogaerts. I don't know where I heard this, but Xander Bogaerts is hurt.
Really?
And I think I heard it on the Athletic podcast. I'm sure that I heard it on the Athletic podcast. They were talking about what do you look at in spring training? What do you pay attention to? And what do you kind of like feel is just noise? If you read just the headlines, he was saying that you'll see like so-and-so is sitting out for today, he's sore or whatever, until you click on that link and you actually look into the article and you see that the manager said that they don't know if he's going to be ready by opening day. So the headlines are so misleading a lot of the times. If you're going to,
spring training, Andrea, is not about the box score and statistics. Spring training is about health and readiness.
For sure.
We pay attention to spring training. For example, velocity drops. There's nothing worse than getting a report of not. It takes some pitchers time to work up to the velocity. And I'm a DeGrom owner at $40. That young man had no business throwing at 99 miles per hour in his first appearance. Somebody should kick the pitching coach's ass.
What? Okay.
That is stupid.
First of all, DeGrom is like the best pitcher I think he's the best.
He is. Clearly.
All right, so no argument there.
I think he is, but I would have thought the Bauer thing always pops in my head with you.
How in the world are you going to tell a guy he can't throw too fast?
You got to work your way up to it. There's a statistic: 75% of the pitchers who come out throwing that kind of speed in February are shut down by June. I heard that. I can't remember where I heard that. They need to work their way slowly up to that velo. They don't need to come out the first day out there and be throwing 100 miles per hour.
Okay, but what if they don't ever get hurt? What if Jacob DeGrom has only spent? I'm looking it up. His injury list, his trips to the injury list.
You won't find him. He's healthy all the time.
Okay, he did. He missed 11 days in 2019 with a sore elbow, and he missed 18 days.
Yeah, it's incredible.
No, 8 days in 2018. So this guy, we don't have it. I would not be. I feel like if we baby these guys too much, then they won't be able to do what.
So can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Sure.
Where are the two of you on Steven Strasburg and his carpal tunnel syndrome?
I will draft him this year. I will draft him.
I'll pay $30 for him at auction.
You will?
Yeah,
that's a good price. I mean, that's in on him in my book.
I'd say, 30. Dude, I don't think you have to pay that much money for him.
I get him on the cheap.
Yes,
I think you get him on cheap. I think that, I mean, it's like right now I'm going through a snake draft, and I think that he might be available like in the 6th round in 15.
You're right.
In a 15-teamer, and that's so. I think you could probably get Strasburg for 22.
He's worth it.
Okay, so but
I'll roll the dice on that.
He's going 73rd. He's going 73rd overall at NFBC, but honestly, I don't know if I would draft him over Ryu, and he's going right after.
Yeah,
the Dodgers should not have gotten rid of Ryu or Maeda. They're knuckleheads.
I think Ryu over, but in that grouping, I think it's still a good deal at 7.
Ryu is terrific.
Yeah.
Well, he's got.
Can we talk about the innings minimum, Andy?
Let's talk about the strategy for pitching. How are we going to put our rosters together and how are we going to do the innings? So there's two of you had a question each, and I'll just combine that question kind of into the next topic that we're doing. Okay, so each week you have a minimum innings of 40 or 35. That's still a lot. Mitch brought up the point of you're going to need a certain number of starts. Let me read what I
need 950 innings in one of my auction leagues.
Well, I mean, if you have 9 pitching positions and you dedicate 5 or 6 to the starting pitcher, you're probably going to get. I mean, I generally, when I look at it, though, people are saying that people are going to pitch less this year, but I generally say, like, if I have a real starting pitcher, he's going to pitch at least 150 innings.
So think about it this way.
If I have 6 of these guys,
Doug, I've been through the baseball forecaster, and I've been through my cut sheets, and I put down I know their projections. I get that.
Okay. And
I put down the projections for the pitchers. And my conclusion after going through that baseball forecaster very meticulously, I'm not going to draft a starter who's going to throw less than 165 innings. And there are not many. There are not that many.
Yeah, I was just looking at the projections on Fangraphs, and there are only 2 pitchers that are projected to pitch for 200 innings this year at all.
Yeah, nobody does 200.
Two pitchers.
Yeah.
DeGrom and Cole.
Right.
Those are the 2.
Right. But I mean, I'm talking about guys like Gallen would be lucky to get 150 innings. this year.
Well, like you need 162 innings to qualify. According to these projections, there's only going to be like 33 pitchers that qualify to win the ERA title. You know,
Really?
like, yeah, because 162 is the qualification level.
162?
It's 1 inning per game that your team plays.
Oh, I didn't realize that. So here's my issue. I'm worried about hitting. This will be the first year I'm going to go with 7 starters and 2 relievers. I never do that.
Why do you think? Okay, so if you think about it, though, how many? Okay, I want to help you feel better about this because I definitely think that this is not going to be as big of a problem as we're making it out to be in these 900 to 1,000 innings for the season. And because I say that, because you're always going to have a couple of relievers in there, right? So
right.
What did
you need to have at least 2.
Did you only?
If you want to compete at saves,
right?
Did you used to only go with 5 pitchers, 5 starters?
No, I've always used 6, Andy.
Okay, and so with those 6, how many innings are you planning to get each? Or have you?
If I have 6 starters,
like in a normal,
you've got to calculate injuries and downtime.
when I
go in with my fab, I'm going to back up these starters with guys like, keep it a secret, Josh Lindblom.
Okay,
we know
165 innings. Keep it a secret, deep dark secret. I'm going to go in with my fab and I'm going to back up with additional 4th tier starting pitchers, Andy. So if I lose somebody for 2 to 3 weeks, I'm going to have to back that starter up with someone, or I'm going to fall behind on my innings.
Well, that's the thing. It's like when you look at a guy and they say he's going to pitch 120 innings this time, that is a signal to you as a fantasy owner to say that you're going to have 3 or 4 weeks where you need to find somebody else to put in there. That's perfectly fine. The real worry is if some of these teams go to crazy 6 or 7 man rotations.
And they're going to do that. That's another challenge.
I don't think that many of them are going to do that.
I hope not.
Because I think that only half the teams could field 4 good pitchers. I don't think that half teams could find 6 good pitchers. If my Cubs were pitching 6 deep,
right.
I don't know who that 6th guy would be, but he would be a problematic player.
Doug, what do you say about Alzolay, since we're just having fun here?
I mean, he was one of those guys that historically in the minors he was a decent prospect. Then he found about 4 miles on his fastball one year about 3 years ago, and he jumped into the top 100 prospects. But since he's gotten that thing, since he's been known, he hasn't been that good. And there's a lot of guys in the minors that have good stuff that can throw 97, 98, who they say one day will eventually be in the bullpen.
Right.
And my feeling is Alzolay is one of those guys.
Okay, cool.
Now, don't get me wrong, he's going to get a shot to pitch this year, and I hope against my brain that he's a good starter.
Right.
And he might be one of those guys. He might be one of those guys that has a few good games or whatever. But
okay,
he is a professional baseball player, but I think he's a reliever.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
So in 2019, there was 75 pitchers that threw 150 innings. That was in 2019. Okay, but there was only 15 that threw 200. So anyways, there's 75 pitchers who threw that many in 2019. Let's see what the projections are for this coming season. Do you think that the projections,
well,
there might not be as many 200 innings, but there's a whole shitload of 150.
Well, I think that you're going to see a little bit of a pullback from everybody. So I said that normally if you could get 150 out of your pitchers, you have absolutely nowhere it's ever, because 6 times 150 is going to be 700.
Right.
It is going to be
that's what I'm saying. And
900 innings, and your relievers will make up the difference. But if you're looking at 6 times 125, which is what we might be looking for here, outside of that, the rarefied air of those top 15 or so starting pitchers, then you really do have to do what you're saying. It's like not only do you have to draft the pitchers, but you also have to take a shot and pick up players from time to time.
Yeah, no, that's why I'm staying away from guys like Tristan McKenzie, who any other year I'd have been all over Tristan McKenzie. I'd have been all over him like flies on sticky paper. Tristan McKenzie's not going to pitch over 120 innings.
He's not going to pitch over. I doubt he pitches 100.
You might be right.
I think that's my strategy this year on the starting pitchers is that I think that coming off of last year, there's going to be a lot of different ways to interpret this, and I think that pitchers. I'm going to spend a lot of my time drafting pitchers who have, taking last route, thrown 175 or so innings. I'm going to draft a lot of older pitchers. That's why
I'm getting Greinke. I'm going for Greinke.
Greinke's a good one, but I mean, like even on the cheaper side, guys like David Price and guys like Corey Kluber and guys like Adam Wainwright. You know, it's like I look at. I know your question was about how people are drafting all these pitchers so high, and I don't see it. The pitchers worry me. You know, outside of, I'm not worried about DeGrom. I'm not worried about Scherzer. I'm not really worried about Kershaw.
Right.
Bieber, even though he kind of fits in those younger players category, he's done enough that I'm not too worried about him. I would worry about him as a first round pick, but as like a second round pick, I'm perfectly fine with it. You know.
Right. I'm with you.
But those other guys, the Walker Buehlers, the Jack Flaherty's, the Tyler Glasnows, they've never really done this before, where they pitched any major grouping, and like those are the guys that are going to hurt people. People are going to put their high draft choices in a guy like Tyler Glasnow, realizing that he's what I had a note on him somewhere. Tyler Glasnow,
he's projected for about 40 innings.
He's only pitched 1 year over 62 innings.
Right. He's
Brandon Woodruff's everybody's darling. His highest year was 121 innings.
Right.
You know.
Okay.
Giolito, he pitched 72 innings last year. He had that 1 year where he pitched 160, but other years are like 119, 122.
Right.
You know. So I mean, I'm staying away from that middle tier of pitchers, and I'll take guys that are veteran afterwards, and I'll live with a 360 ERA or 370 ERA.
Pineda.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
I said Michael Pineda.
What about him?
Michael Pineda is the kind of third tier. He's number 3 in the rotation. He won't light up. He won't light you up. It's not lightning in a bottle. But he's projected to pitch about 165 innings. He'll better have about 3.5 ERA and about a 1.32 whip, and he'll win 10, 12 games.
And
he'll be less than $10.
I actually like on the same team. I prefer Jay Happ, but
I was thinking. You're right, Doug. You're right.
Well, I would tell you a story about these other guys. Like last year, I played in a league that had a minimum number of innings pitched, and I was one of those guys where I drafted a lot of risky pitchers, and I actually was in a situation where I was looking at the end of the season, which came on really quick because only 8 weeks of baseball. And so I'm not going to make 300. I'm going to lose everything, right? And so what wound up happening is I wound up having to put in some pretty crap pitchers just to get to 300. And I wound up dropping from like the number 2 pitching team across the board to like the number 9 pitching team by putting those guys in. A lot of these guys that are picking the Flahertys and the Buehlers and the Gallons who've never done this before are going to have to – you're in a 15-team league that drafts 400 players. Those guys that they're putting in their place are not going to be that good of players. That's why I'm going to focus on the guys that I can trust more and more.
Yeah, that's right.
Versus these guys. Now, am I going to be wrong about 1 or 2 of these guys?
Sure you will.
They're gonna light up the place and be the thing, and I'm perfectly fine finishing 3rd in pitching or 4th in pitching. I just don't want to finish 10th. But there's gonna be more of these guys, especially the younger guys, the guys that have never pitched a number of innings. We're gonna have that trouble jumping from 60, 70 innings to 150.
Every year, that's the same thing, though. It's not any different from any other year. And when you look at how many innings,
it's different.
Let me just finish my sentence real quick. The number of innings pitched per game started. Do you think that's going to go down, or do you think the number of starts that each pitcher is going to get is going to go down? Which one, or both? Which of these things are you focusing on?
I don't think they're going to pitch much differently than they did game by game. The difference is that because I only played 60 games last year, Bieber lead the league in innings pitched with 112. So most of these guys, the difference is that almost all these guys are pitching. If we were magically transplanted back to 2013, and you had a guy that pitched 70 great innings, we would have real doubts about that guy, right?
What about if he's already done it though? Like 4 or 5. I mean, there's guys.
None of these guys that I've named have done it. I mean, those are the guys. The guys have done it 4 or 5 times.
These are guys like Jose Barrios, okay? Guys like
Jose Barrios has done it a number of times.
Kyle Hendricks. You have Zach Wheeler. You have
but those aren't the. I mean, these are guys. Marco Gonzalez. These aren't guys that the people who write about fantasy sports are getting all jazzed over. Those are no, they should, and that's why we're a little bit different. And I'm saying, pick those guys. Pick the tried and true guys. Get Mike Minor. Get Marco Gonzalez. Guys that have done it over and over again, because they're going to have a better chance of coming back from it.
So
people are going nuts about guys like Zach Wheeler and Zach Gallen and anyone named Zach.
Zach Gallen's good. Obviously, you don't like Zach Gallen. No,
I don't dislike Zach Gallen, but he's never pitched more than 80 innings in his life.
Would you take Zach Gallen or Zach Davies?
Okay, what about Glass now? Are you going to take Glass now?
I love it.
Are you going to draft Glass now?
I knew you were going to say that, huh? What's that?
Giolito is kind of in that category too. He's only had 1 year. Giolito's had 1 year over 170 innings. And he's a very good pitcher.
Okay. Go ahead.
I'm saying if you take a list of all 15 of these guys, something like 12 of the 15 are going to disappoint their owners. That's what I think.
While we're on the subject of pitching, I have an excellent article for anyone watching by Michael Waldo, Fantastics Insider Baseball.
Yep.
Michael Waldo's article goes through a litany of statistics on strand rates and the pitchers with the best strand rates over the last 162 games. And there's no shock in there. It starts with Cole, Verlander, Kershaw, Gallen, DeGrom, Darvish, Eduardo Rodriguez.
What does the best strand rate mean? Like the most runners stranded?
It's runners you leave on base.
Okay, so what qualifies as?
What's that?
Is it better to have more runners left on base, or is it not as good?
Yeah, no, that's right.
With rate, it's going to be
Wait a minute. Does the pitcher decide who gets left on base though? The defense.
The pitchers, Garrett Cole had a 91% strand rate.
Do you know what that says to me?
Runners who got on base, 9 out of 10 failed to score.
Which means that Garrett Cole should have a worse ERA than he does because.
No, he should have a better ERA. Well, no, I see what you're saying. Well, you got BABIP, you got other factors. This is only one metric. This is your strand rate. Huh?
I'm just asking though because when a pitcher lets runners get on base, right? We're talking about strand rate, meaning that they've let runners get on base. So we're talking about
they didn't let them score.
They don't have anything to do with it though. It's the people in the field that have to.
Well, that's fielding independent pitching. You're right. The fielding is a factor. You are correct.
I get worried when I see a strand rate, dude, of 90%. That's scary.
Would you rather have some guy with a strand rate of 50% that half the people that get on base score?
I don't think. Yes, because that means that he's getting unlucky. That if everybody's scoring, either that or he has a horrible defense behind him.
That does happen.
I think that it's not really doesn't go really like either or. If you have a high strand rate, you're this. If you have a low strand rate, you're that. I think that it's something to be aware of, that if a guy has a 3.5 ERA, but his strand rate is 85% or 90%, you're saying, okay, in a normal season, that's going to be way worse because people are going to score on this guy.
True, but when I look at the
average around 80%,
the intercorrelation of the people with the best strand rates, the intercorrelation is extremely high, i.e. Cole, Verlander, Kershaw, Gallen, DeGrom, Darvish, Flaherty, Bieber, Scherzer. Do you see what I'm saying?
Well,
there is an association between the higher the strand rate, the better the pitcher's overall performance is what this chart is telling me, unless I'm misinterpreting the chart.
No, that is correct for the year that you're getting the data from.
It's
what Andrea is saying is that a high strand rate may predict the future of them being a little worse than they were that year.
Well, BABIP does the same thing.
Kind of, yeah. It's really
BABIP, and he's lucky.
On Garrett Cole's thing, if he gave 10% back on strand rate, he'd still be a pretty good pitcher.
I don't know, man. If 10% of the people that he gets that he allows on base.
I mean, how many people do you allow on base per game? Like one an inning? What's his whip rate?
Yeah, that's like important to me. So I'll to Mitchell's point,
his whip rate is like 1.05. Let's say it's 1. That means that if he gives back 10%, that he's going to let another base runner score every 10 starts.
Right. What Waldo did, Doug,
he runs a game.
He gives you in this chart the strand rate, the expected fielding independent pitching, the ERA, the batting averages based on balls in play, the barrel rate. The barrel rate for Cole is 7%, which is terrific. They're not getting the meat of the bat on the ball.
This is
against Garrett Cole.
Yeah, that's a skill.
What about the idea that if they're not letting runners score, that means that they're pitching well under pressure? When runners are in scoring position, they're not.
No, it's what. No, it is that. It's like if you're allowing weak contact, or like Cole does, if you're striking out a lot of players, that's gonna strand more people than people that don't strike out players. So it is a little bit his doing.
Hi, Doug. Nice to see you. I'm looking at Doug in Facebook. I'm just responding to him, our friend. Go ahead. I just tried to sneak it in there. Well, but Mitchell, did I interrupt you? We love.
Are we going to talk about closer battles?
Okay. Well, we can talk about some closer battles.
What time do we have?
We don't have a time. I don't have a bedtime.
We don't really. One of the things about the roundtable historically is that we want to go an hour. We probably don't want to go more than 90 minutes, but you go as long as there's good conversation.
Wait, let me ask this question before we go to closers. Douglas brought up, Mike Trout is not going first. This is really the first season that I've seen an actual good. The majority of drafts, not just.
There's an easy answer. He's not running.
He's okay.
But really, do you expect him? I saw in.
He's 31 years old. He's gained weight, Doug.
I mean, do you think that Juan Soto's going to have more stolen bases than he does? He doesn't really run either. You're looking at guys that are going to get 10, 11, 12.
No, but Acuna could get 40.
No, I understand Acuna at 1. No,
I don't. I do not.
Because if you have a guy that can hit 35 home runs and steal 25 bases, that's going to put him at a different level than a guy that hits.
Let me put this in a different framework. Floor versus ceiling. If you're talking about floor, Mike Trout should be number 1 right now. Okay. If you're looking about ceiling, I take Tatis.
Okay, fine. That's agreeable. But you cannot justify taking Acuna over Mookie. Maybe if you don't look at strikeout rate and you don't care about that, maybe that's fine.
I'm not penalized in my leagues for strikeouts.
But what happens when a guy strikes out 30% of the time is that he eventually is going to show up in his numbers. Like Javi Baez, it finally showed up in his numbers. He was able to hit 280 every year.
He swung at everything.
And Acuna, dude, it's a 30% strikeout rate, this guy.
You're right. And I agree with you.
Mookie Betts is going to steal bases and hit homers, and he is not going to strike out like this. I like Mookie.
Mookie Betts had a great year last year, but the year before that wasn't that great. The year before that was phenomenally good. Yeah. And it's like I'm not saying that there's a pattern or anything, but it's not. You can't. I mean, none of these guys are guarantees of being a thing. But I just think that when you look at it, it's like the 5 or so guys that are being picked 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. None of them are bad batting average.
They're interchangeable. They're
not completely interchangeable because Acuna, if you took stolen base plus home runs, I would say that he's going to be the number 1 of that category. Stolen base plus home runs, and by a decent amount, by 6, 8, 10 more than the other guys.
I agree.
That's the reason why he's number 1.
He's not even, dude. You know how old he is? He's so young. And Tatis, the same thing. They're both super young. Tatis is the most. I think he has the highest ceiling, but I don't know how much higher it gets than Acuna because he has a high ceiling too.
I don't think he's gonna get any better, but he's the number 1 pick, so he didn't have.
No, they might look at. What 23 years old Acuna, dude? He could get better. He could stop.
Theoretically, he could start relief pitching too.
So you don't think he's going to get better?
Oh, no, I already see him as like a 37 home run, 25 stolen base guy who hits just around 300. It's like the idea of him being better than that is really scary.
Well, I could see him
He's
getting
terrific.
better.
He's terrific, Doug.
I don't know. You guys are just happy with what he's
How'd you
doing.
like to be the White Sox GM who traded him for who's the pitcher's name that went over to the White Sox? It wasn't any good. I was Chuck's. I've drawn a blank. Someone help me. Starting pitcher.
I mean, I'm thinking. Oh, from the Padres.
Padres.
Padres got Tatis from the White Sox.
Hi, George. George is here. Nice to see you, dude.
James Shields. James Shields. Doug, you're the man.
Yeah, I'll never forget James Shields because
Daniel's here. Hi, Daniel.
Hi, Daniel.
James Shields. He says James Shields.
James Shields, one of the most important moments in all of baseball history was when he led up the home run to Bartolo Colon, because it was very important that we didn't have a DH in the National League until that happened.
We're going to take turns going through the closer situations. Are you guys ready? Do you want to do that?
Ready.
Okay.
Ready.
Do you want to start? We're going to each do a team. One team that we think is going to have a closer that maybe whatever you want to say about closers. Tell me what you want to say about closers. Which I thought we were going to do position battles, but maybe if that's what I'm trying to do.
We can do that. We can come back to that.
Okay, what do you want to do now? What do you want to talk about
Let's
now?
do closers right now.
Closer position battles or no?
I'll do Atlanta. I say Chris Martin will take it away from Will Smith.
Really?
Yep.
For what reason? You have to have a reason in this discussion.
Peripherals. I can't give you a good reason. I'm with Lenny on this. You know what? You can only take analytics just so far. If I'd have used analytics, I'd have never gotten married, for crying out.
Okay, so how about
how would you
the reason I would give if I were making the same thing is I'd say Will Smith is the better pitcher and he's more effective in different spots than just being the closer, whereas Chris Martin has proven that he can close a game.
Right.
He has or not?
He closed a little bit in Texas. He closed a couple games for Atlanta last year. I think he has like 8 career saves, something like that.
Okay, he had a 1 ERA and a 6.1 WHIP and a 30% strikeout rate. So it does say that he
had 1 WHIP. 0.61?
0.61.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, but so that I would say the only thing keeping him from getting the job is the fact that they're paying Will Smith a lot of money, and that's their core.
Yeah, you know what? You're not.
Also, those Chris Smith numbers are based on 19 innings of pitching in 2020. It's not really.
With the Mariners,
really
wasn't he with the Mariners?
I know he was with the Rangers. Maybe he was the Rangers for a little bit, but
okay.
I mean, he was. I mean, off the top of my head, I haven't looked it up, but I'll look it up because what the hell, we're here, right?
He was with Atlanta, Texas. Now he's back with Atlanta.
I'm just saying that nothing in his past showed a 0.61 WHIP being part of his.
No, and nothing in his past shows that he can close out games either.
I thought he closed. I know he closed a few in Texas.
When he had 4 saves in Texas in 2019. He had 4 saves and 2 blown saves. And
when the knuckleballer, it's the guy that threw the hard sinker, was having trouble. He was one of the guys that filled in.
Last year he had 1 save and no blown saves. But there's nothing. You're right. There's nothing that says that he should have a 1 ERA. Anyway, Atlanta has been known to use the player that the best suited person for that day or that situation.
Yeah, they like the committee. Yeah.
I do know that one thing for sure, Rocco Baldelli is the manager in Minnesota Twins, and even though these guys have a couple really, experienced and qualified closers, they have made it very clear they have not named a closer and they will not name a closer. So that means that for fantasy purposes, it sucks. It's not a good situation for fantasy because they're going to give some saves to Taylor Rogers and they're going to give some saves to
Colomé,
who both of them have been like a couple of top closers the last few seasons.
Yeah, Colomé's been outstanding. Yeah, so is Rogers. Yeah,
but neither of them are going to get the saves that.
That's why I dumped Colomé.
Or they split them up. And I think that's actually part of the thing.
Huh?
Well, when I listed out these closer battles, I listed out 12 teams, which is, 40% of the league is going to be up in the air, probably going into the season, or
at least that many. That's right.
So how do you decide then? So do you tell yourself going into the draft that because there's less secure closer roles that you intend to get at least one of them, or do you say because there's not going to be a lot of people with a lot of saves each that I'll just get a few at the end of the draft?
I'm in 2 keeper leagues, and one I'm keeping Chapman and Iglesias.
Yes, you said that.
The other one I have Brad Hand, and I'm not keeping. Because in that reason, folks in Florida, for whatever reason, most of them are in Florida. I cannot explain it. No one gives a rip about closers. You can wait until the 15th round of that thing and get a closer for that league for whatever reason. So I'm keeping no closers.
Really?
I mean, all of these closer situations are really fluid. Like the draft position is really fluid right now. It's going to change like every day. So you can't go into it thinking that you're going to see that. Like Amir Garrett, he rose up the ADP like over 100 spots.
Mostly on his just bravado, things he said with his mouth.
He's
anything.
Not going to have the command.
Not anything he's done on the mound.
The gig. He'll get the gig going out of the gate. But I mean, they have on some websites, I can't tell you which ones, rank all the closers by highly secure.
That would be RotoWire.
Shaky, and you got in highly secure and secure around a third. Doug's got the numbers right. About a third of the closers in baseball are either highly secure or secure in their roles. The rest of them are in some degree of jeopardy.
So you're talking, I think you're referring to RotoWire. That's where I find it. And I can tell you that there's only 3 closers with very high job security. And Josh Hader, I don't think he has very high job security.
No, they're going to make Josh Hader the setup man. I would.
Well, they have the other guy. The guy that won Rookie of the Year last year.
Yeah, he's made it so that 2 batters an inning.
Has made it so that Josh Hader doesn't have to be that guy anymore.
Josh Hader's more valuable in setup.
Okay.
Somebody's got to close games there.
It'll be Williams.
The fact that somebody has to close games does not make Josh Hader the very high job security. Not only that, but he's just better as a setup guy. He's better. Plus,
he's been closing for them for the better part of 2 years.
Because they needed him there. They didn't have
getting blown up, Doug. He's been blown up a fair number of times.
Okay, moving on. We have 4 other pitchers. So for that very high job security is Aroldis Chapman, one of your keepers, Liam Hendricks, and Josh Hader. I do not agree that Josh Hader has very high job security.
I agree.
To the next tier down, you have high job security. It's Ryan Presley for Houston. That's true, I think. Raciel Iglesias, your other closer in your Dynasty League, for LA, and Trevor Rosenthal for Oakland, and Brad Hand in Washington. And I do think that San Diego closer is pretty much a given. Like Melanson is going to be the closer in San Diego.
I don't know that. I mean, Pomeranz ended the year last year, and probably the most talented pitcher on their team from a closing standpoint is Keone Kela.
That's a good
point. What? He's never done anything, and he's been around for like 8 years.
He closed for a year for the Pirates. He closed the year after Vasquez left, right?
Okay. Well, if he did, he closed for. He's always. You know what? Keone Kela has been in Arizona. He was Archie Bradley. We thought he was going to take. I don't know. Whatever. But he's had a lot of opportunities to hold on to the closing role on teams, and he has not done that.
The only time he ever really closed was I thought with the Pirates.
I thought he played in Arizona. I remember.
No, he had a moment in Texas along with Chris. He was on the team with Chris Martin, and he closed like one game, and I think he got hurt.
So he had one season where he had 24 saves. That's great. That was in 2018, and since then he's had 1 save and 4 blown saves since then. But
he's pitched all of 46 innings.
29 innings. 29 innings. He's had 5 blown saves. 4 blown, whatever it is. I don't see him taking the job from our boy Melanson. Although Melanson may get hurt, you never know. I just think he's.
But Melanson has been. I mean, until last year, he had like 3 or 4 years of pretty bad pitching.
He had a really bad injury.
He's lost velo. He's lost velocity.
Yeah,
he's done a good job of recovering from that with a different approach. With whatever they do when they lose velo. You have a comment in your chat room from George.
He hasn't lost velocity since 2015. He really hovers right around 91.5 miles an hour, 92 miles an hour, like right around there.
Right.
I would, and yes, he's getting older, so he is not like the most reliable closer that you can get. But I'm saying that I believe that his job is more secure than what they're giving him credit for at RotoWire.
Yeah. George says Tyler Duffy is in the mix.
What about James Karinchak? Everybody loves James Karinchak.
He's terrific.
I think Karinchak is good and he's pretty safe.
According to RotoWire, he has very low job security.
And I don't understand that, but it's because of Clays, Emmanuel Clays.
Oh,
but he does.
He's got electric stuff. That's why
it's the same thing with the hater thing. You know, it's like it's like because there's another guy who's talented.
Yeah, Clays.
How do we know this guy's talented?
Clays is not.
Well, sorry, we don't know. The talent means that he has like the capacity to do these things. Whether he's done it or not, he really hasn't. But
it's so sad, dude, how we live. We just look past, like, Karinchak did excellent last year. We're already
he was terrific. I had him. I can tell you how good he was.
I would take Karinchak, and I don't see how they don't give him the first shot.
They are.
And he's done well enough to not.
Karinchak has higher security, Andy, than what it's showing on your chart. I agree with you.
Yeah. I absolutely agree that he's got higher job security. He throws 99 miles an hour. Okay. Right. If you bought the draft guide last year, he was one of my highlights in there. I found him.
Terrific. He was terrific. There's no other way to put it.
So Emmanuel Klaus, I don't understand why they would do this, why they would put this. I just say question these job security things and look into it, because right under the list and the tiers of job security rankings, you see that there's a write-up for every team. It talks about all the possible closers for that team. Like if you have RotoWire, you should go there and look at the closer depth charts, and they do a great job. We're doing a draft now, the Serious Dynasty League draft, and we're doing our supplemental draft because we each keep 40 players and, we draft 10. Right. And Pete Fairbanks is on the list. He's like the next one in my queue.
I think Pete Fairbanks is one of those guys that won't be the closer, but still be immensely valuable. And being the Rays, he'll probably pick up 4 wins and 4 saves, something like that. Because they do it. Like the difference between them, the Rays use a closer by committee, but it's much more predictable than others.
Tampa Bay is absolutely the worst for fantasy people.
Drive you crazy.
Diego Castillo, I think, is the best option there, but
he's also their favorite opener.
Okay, there you go.
They let Alvarado go, who I thought was outstanding. I mean, every time I saw Alvarado, nobody could touch him.
Yeah, I mean,
I would make Alvarado the closer in Philadelphia if it were up to me.
He's there in Philly now?
Yes.
Yep. I got Alvarado and Archie Bradley along with Hector.
They had the worst bullpen in baseball.
Yeah.
They had a bullpen ERA of 7.08 last year.
Yeah. What's the job security of the Philly closer according to
0?
The thing about that one, unlike the others, is that they've been such miserable failures that whoever gets the job is going to have the shortest hook.
I like Alvarado. I think they did a good job when they got Alvarado and Bradley. And I don't agree.
Alvarado, dude, has never been healthy. We have not seen him be healthy yet. I hope he does, but it's like.
Well, no. I mean, he played for the Rays, and the Rays would screw with the minor leagues, and they'd screw with the injured reserve to like run through. They like to run 15 relief pitchers, so they would make up injuries for people. I don't think he's ever really been injured.
Let me throw out a curveball.
A phantom injury.
It's like, has there ever been an injury that Alvarado went on the DL and didn't come back immediately when his DL stint was over? I don't remember that.
You all have heard of the book Moneyball.
Mm-hmm.
You could write a sequel to Moneyball. And my hypothesis is I could prove this if I had the time and I weren't lazy. For their payroll, they are the best run team in Major League Baseball. They have less than a third of the payroll of the Los Angeles Dodgers, and they took them right to the fence. That's how well run this team is.
I agree with you 100%.
I'll grant you that. You go back and look at Moneyball. You got a $60 million payroll, and you come within a couple of games of winning the World Championship. I say that makes him the best run team in baseball.
Okay, I'm on the clock. I'm on the clock. Yes. Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
The difference between the Rays and Moneyball is that the Rays have some secret magic juice that they do. Like they have a system they use that no one else knows. they really do pick
Well,
players.
the opener, Doug, when they did the opener.
Well, even the
We
other
all
things.
laughed at him. I laughed at him.
No, they'll grab a guy from some other team that no one wants, turn him into a superstar, and then they'll realize he's not that good, and they'll trade him away.
Colin McHugh.
It's like that's the thing. Like I can't think of a one instance. I live in Florida. Or I've lived in Florida for a good part of my life. Lived in Florida for the past 7 years, and I went to college here. And I've never known the Rays to trade away a player too soon. Like they always get when Cal Crawford left the Rays, he was horrible. When BJ Upton left the Rays, he was horrible. When Longoria left the Rays, he was horrible. Tommy Pham, he was okay, but he wasn't. That's like part and parcel of the Rays system, is that they see a guy who's relatively talented on another team like Pham, who isn't like there. They grab him, they bolster him enough that they can trade him for even more to get back. Like I don't think Pham was done like some of these other guys were, but what they got for Pham, if you consider that like who did they trade to get Pham, was like Genesis Cabrera. Like it was really nobody. So they turned like Genesis Cabrera into Blake Snell. Not who do they get? They got a pitcher. They got Luis Patino and
they got Patino. No, Patino came over in the trade for Blake Snell.
Yeah, there's too many trades there. Who the Pham trade? They got somebody pretty good in there. I have to look it up. Pham trade.
Let's talk about the closer in St. Louis, Andrea.
Yeah, that's the most fun one in my mind.
Why?
Because I want to stay away from all of them. That's my bottom line.
Yeah, you can rationalize any one of them to be the guy.
Huh?
The problem was if it turns out to be one guy, that guy is going to be pretty good. Well, if somebody is the closer in St. Louis from May 1st on, he's going to be top 10 in saves. And the question is, which one is it?
Right now, I have a choice. I'm on the clock in this league. I have a choice between. I'm going to choose a pitcher right now: Blake Snell or Zach Gallen.
Gallen.
What I said about Gallen aside, I would take Gallen over Snell. I just think that like I wouldn't count on Gallen for more than 120 innings. That's all I'm saying.
That's the issue.
You're
doing a draft, Andrew, while you're in the pot.
Yeah, I'm gonna draft too. I keep looking over here.
Talk about multitasking. I take my hat off to you.
Thank you. I'm taking Snell, dude. I got to take Snell. I really do.
Taking Snell over Gallen.
I don't know. I don't know if I should.
Can I give you a reason?
Maybe I should take a hitter instead.
Can I give you a reason?
Yeah.
Snell's pitching for the second best team in the National League.
Snell is pitching.
Yeah.
Snell, he's pitching for a great team.
He's pitching for a better team than Gallen's pitching for.
What kind of hitters are out there?
So on my team so far, I have only Luis Robert, Cavan Biggio, Freddie Freeman for my hitters, and then for pitching, I have Bieber and Castillo. For hitters on here, Michael Conforto, Suarez, Arozarena is there, but I'm not taking him.
Is Marcell Ozuna still available? He's kind of
he's gone.
He's kind of been somewhat forgotten in drafts because
I love
him. Team for so long.
I really love him. I really do. Strasburg, of course, is there. JD Martinez is there. He probably won't be there.
I would take Strasburg over both Snell and Gallen.
He would.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you.
I also have Carrasco, Kyle Hendricks, Ryu, Greinke.
I agree with Doug. I'd grab Strasburg.
Well, I mean, if there might be a hitter there that you take it and fall back on Strasburg next
round.
When's your next pick?
Why are you talking me out of Snell? I don't know why you're talking me out of Snell.
I'm not. There's nothing wrong with Blake Snell.
He's an injury risk.
You posed the question as Snell.
He's had one good year. Admittedly, it was Cy Young good, but that's really all he's had.
I would take Gallen over Snell every 7 days a week.
His outside of his Cy Young year where he threw 180 innings and was really awesome, his next best year in innings was 107, and he had like a 4.11 ERA that year. He's had one great year.
That's true. I'll take Gallen.
Massively great year, but only the one. And at 107 innings being his best ever, much like I actually wouldn't be surprised if I would say that like Gallen's top end is like 120. I think that Snell probably 130, but they're in this ballpark with each other.
I drafted Gallen. I have Gallen now. Gallen.
I agree with you. I would have taken him.
Yeah, I have Gallen, Bieber.
I'm getting ready to go into an auction. I have one pitcher. I'm willing to pay $30 for Gallon.
One pitcher you're willing to pay $30?
I only have one pitcher on my keeper list. I'm hurting for pitching. I'll pay Gallon's out there. I'll pay $30 for him.
So Gallon is an interesting talk because we're talking about pitchers that obviously Gallon didn't have many innings last year, and he only had one full season of pitching.
Yeah, he never had a full season. Well, last year was a full season.
No, Doug may have talked me out of it. If he's only going to pitch 120 innings, I might back off.
But why would you?
He's not worth $30 if he's not going to pitch more than 120 innings.
He's not worth $30.
No.
I mean, but much like we said about Strasburg at 22, he shouldn't be $30. There's enough reason to doubt it.
Strasburg will give you 160 innings, Doug.
He'll either give you 160 innings or 30, one or the other. But he won't be in between.
Gallon pitched when he came up. He came up to the majors in 2019, and he had pitched a full season combined with 80 innings at the major leagues and 90 innings in the minors. So he pitched 170 innings in 2019, which to me says, okay, he did do, at least he came close to 200 innings. And then last year he pitched.
That's over 2 years, though.
So it was over 1 year. He's basically saying that he pitched 90 innings in the minors, but the innings in the minors, you don't know what happened with that.
It doesn't matter.
They might say just go out and pitch 4 innings. We don't care what happens, or go out 4 innings and just throw your sinker. You know, it is literally 20 times less stress than what they're doing at the major league level.
Gallon, dude, he made 12 starts last year. He went below 6 innings like 3 times out of all of those starts. He literally throws deep into games. Why would they say don't throw deep into games all of a sudden?
How deep is deep in the games?
What?
I mean, it's like you're saying, how many
innings? Okay, he went 7 innings, 7 innings, 6 innings, 7 innings, 7 innings, 5, 6, 6. The only inning.
Well, you see it right there as you're reading it down. Is that reverse chronological, or is that starting with April?
In July 26th, the very first game last year, he only pitched 4 innings. After that, he went 6, 6, 7, 7, 6, 7, 7, 5, 5, 6, 6. So
that's the question is that's a 2-month period, right?
That's
now this year. Now, yeah, that's all there was. We can't really hold it against him. We're not pitching more. But the question is, now you have to do a 6-month thing, and the trend on that was he was pitching less and less. You know.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't that he was pitching less and less.
It's like he did those 7s after he came up. They were seeing what they got. They let him pitch 7 a couple times, and they started pulling him less and less.
No, he went 6, 6, 7, 7, 6, 7, 7, 5 innings, 5 innings, 6 innings, 6 innings. That was the end. But I guess it comes down to this: is it going to be that we're looking out for the long haul over the season? So the overall.
Are you in a dynasty league, Andrew?
Is he going to get? You think that if he pitched more games, he'd get stronger?
I believe that you stay in the shape that you work yourself into being. So if you throw 5 innings every time you go out there, it's not going to make you any better to throw 3 innings or to.
I repeat, I would take Gallon over Snell. You did the right thing.
But what about the innings? Because this is how I see it. If a guy threw 170 innings in 2019, and then in 2020 he did 12 starts in 2 months, I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt that he can throw 175 innings because
I don't think I can. But then again, I'm not making a decision. You're not making a decision. The guy that's making the decision is the guy that has got millions of dollars invested in this guy, and might very well thinking, I want Gallon to pitch for me for 4 years instead of just 1.
Well, what the hell I don't get how in the world we've come to believe that throwing 170 innings is going to hurt a pitcher.
Because it has a lot over the course of time.
We've gone ape shit crazy.
Let
me throw a monkey wrench into the whole thing. What pitcher in NFBC ADP going between 120 and 130 is as good as the pitchers going at 60?
I don't know who those guys are.
What pitcher in NFBC?
Yeah, I mean, I just don't know who
ADP below 120.
Mike Soroka
is as good as some of the pitchers going from 60 to 70. The answer is Joe Musgrove.
Why Joe Musgrove? That's another question. What the hell is Joe?
I'm going to step away for a minute. I'll be back in a second.
Don't take my word for it. Go in and take a look.
I'm doing it right now. But
baseball forecaster, look at his peripherals. Joe Musgrove is going to be a stud in San Diego.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
But what has he done to show you that? I don't think he was any good. Okay, first of all, did he come from Pittsburgh? Yes. That's a plus automatic, right? It's a plus leaving Pittsburgh. But what did he do? He didn't do good there. He didn't throw that good, did he? Like, everybody loves him, so I'm not knocking you. I'm
talking about value. I'm talking about, instead of paying $30 for somebody, you can get him for 15 and you won't make a living on the difference.
I don't know. He's crazy going. For me, I've watched him. Last year we didn't even draft this guy. Now he's being drafted at 123rd overall, and I don't know how much they're paying for him in auction leagues, but it seems like the hype has gotten out of control with.
Well, that's true. He's got too much helium. That happens. Yeah, that's true.
He's been injured most of the time.
Like Arena. I'm keeping Arena, but I think he's going to be a bust.
Okay, so why are you keeping him?
Because I don't want to risk him not being a bust.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
I got him for $10, Andy. Wouldn't you keep Arena for $10?
For sure. I'd probably trade him, is what I would do.
I could trade him for a pitcher. I probably ought to do that.
So it says Joe Musgrove, the last 5 starts, 2.22 ERA, okay, 39% strikeouts, and 17% swinging strikes.
Pretty good stuff.
Okay, that's fine. That was 5 starts. I just wonder, because his his expected ERA has never been that great. It's over 4 for the most part. But it does say
I'm with this guy with Musgrove the same way Lenny is with Hunter Dozier.
Dozier, though, is a great deal in draft. So Musgrove 123 overall. Let's talk about Dozier. Dozier's unbelievable value right now, I think. I got to switch it off of just pitchers because that's what I'm looking at. We have Hunter Dozier at 233. That's where he's going. And he plays outfield and first base, and he's going to hit home runs. He's going to steal bases. He's a great steal right now in drafts.
What did you say? I'm sorry.
I said Hunter Dozier is a steal right now in drafting. He is qualified at 2 positions. He's going after pick 230. You got to love it. So what else did you find out about in the baseball forecaster? There's a lot in there, right? Every year there's a ton of information.
I tend to like it because I'm not huge on analytics, but they do look at contact rates, which are very important for me with hitters. I think the contact rate is one of the greatest metrics that you can use for any hitter in the league. Like I said, with pitchers, the swinging strikes is a very excellent statistic on a pitcher. It would be, and that's a problem with column A. It kind of turned me off on column A, is that he doesn't get strikeouts, but the guy has been amazingly effective over the last 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is Taylor Rogers is good, and Malpal says Tyler Duffy is a dark horse to take both of them out.
Okay,
is Tyler Duffy that good?
You should listen to him. He's a big fan of them, so he might know. Okay, here's a question. You guys talk about like being slow on stretching out pitchers and all of this. Okay.
Right.
To me, it's a bunch of malarkey, but that's beside the point. The pitchers, the coaches, Austin Voth, okay? He's Washington Nationals, fighting for the 5th starting job, okay? They let him pitch 1 inning. He only needed 9 pitches or something like that. He went 1, 2, 3 and sat them all down, all 3 of them in a row. And then he's done. And then now I see like Shelby Miller tosses a scoreless inning on Monday. It's like, what in the? Okay, I just think it's ridiculous because these pitchers, they pitch for a living. They can pitch more than 1 inning, right? Or am I just? Maybe I need to be more empathetic, or maybe
Andrew, it doesn't even make sense from an assessment point of view. Don't you want a better sample in a guy than 9 pitches?
Yes, dude, I need more.
You're trying to decide who's going to be number 5 on the rotation. He's competing with Joe Ross, and he's competing with Fetty. Wouldn't you want a little better sample than 9 pitches?
Because 9 doesn't tell you anything. It tells you 3
right.
batters. you need to be able to make it through the order. Okay, that's part of like the qualities of being a decent starting pitcher. You have to at least get through the lineup.
All right.
But this is not helping anybody to me. Shelby Miller tosses scoreless inning, but Dave Martinez said he's sticking to this 1 inning per pitcher. And
he won a World Series championship. I'll give him a mulligan for a year.
If they start throwing too many pitches in the inning, then the manager can end the inning.
I know. My wife's telling me I got to shut my pie hole and go to bed.
Okay, good night, Mitchell. Thank you so much for coming on Roundtable.
I'll hang for a couple more minutes.
I think that's part of the thing is that I was trying to find out how many spring training games there are. I think there's fewer games, and if there's fewer games and the games might be shortened to 5 innings and 4 innings and 6 innings, you only have so many live innings of pitchers to be able to see the pitcher. And I would imagine from a coach's standpoint, you'd rather see, I don't know, 3 outings, 3 different days than 1 day of 3 innings.
No, you got to see how a pitcher acts when some runners are on base. You have to see how a pitcher acts when he walks a batter, and like you got to give him a chance to like get out of the inning. I just don't see how it helps anybody, but I do know they're playing 28 games in 30 days, so they're playing a lot of games.
They are
amount of time.
And I think that might be part of it.
Mitchell, will you come on next? You can come on next week. We're gonna have a roundtable every Monday night.
Okay.
There will be more than this, and we'll try to hone in on like our topics a little better next time. But this is kind of practice.
I look forward to it. It's been real fun. Doug, great to meet you, sir.
It was nice to meet you, Mitch. Where do you live in? You live in Chicago?
I'm just south of Richmond. I'm in Virginia. I'm about 17 miles. Lucky to have Andrea and Lenny came by and had a couple of bagels with me and my wife.
I loved it. Your wife wasn't home, but we had bagels and coffee.
Yeah, that's right.
You were a Nationals fan, I thought. Don't you live in Washington, D.C.?
I bought this hat because of this. Where is it? I can't get it up here.
White Sox.
White Sox, but look what it says on the side.
59.
Windy City. Can you see that?
No.
I've got a hat for almost every team. So I just wear a different hat. It's just, stupid, but that's what I do.
So yes, it's a good hat to wear. The White Sox are better than they've been in a long time. They're
more exciting in Chicago than the Cubs are.
And I wanted to keep Eloy and Robert. I've been stressing out over this. But
why did you?
I can't keep both of them. It's either one or the other.
It's too much money, or
I've got Kyle Tucker at $3. Andrea, I'm not.
How much are they? Eloy and Luis Robert.
Eloy is 26. Luis Robert is 20.
Yeah. You might need to keep Luis Robert.
This year, Eloy is going to be better.
He doesn't steal bases.
This year.
I mean, I think that Robert he's one of those guys where he's going to even be. We worry a little bit about his average, but he's going to help you in 4 categories for sure, possibly 5.
That's the reason.
I don't think we can.
I need the bags.
You got to keep Robert over Eloy. I'm sorry.
I've decided to keep Robert, but I hate to give up Eloy. I love Eloy too.
In a 15-team league, I took Luis Robert with the 33rd pick, my first pick in the 3rd round.
You only get 3 keepers.
3rd round?
Yeah. First pick in the 3rd round.
3, that's it? 3 keepers, that's it?
No, I get to keep 10 keepers. My keepers are Kyle Tucker, Arizarena, Juan Soto, Luis Robert, Bichette, Tatis, Guerrero, Louis Voigt, and Corbin Burns.
That's a pretty good team outside of the pitching.
I would find a way.
I have no pitching, but I got a hell of a bunch of players.
That's a team that would be so much fun to manage, even if you didn't win.
Yeah, I'm stuck on the Blue Jays.
Okay, everybody, say goodbye. Thanks for joining the roundtable. Douglas, say goodbye.
We'll do it next week.
Yeah, we'll do this next week. I was going to say that.
Love it. See you tomorrow morning for Lenny's show, Lenny's Daily Podcast, 9 a.m.